Hey friends, these are your notes for our next unit in social studies. You should have been able to access them through Canvas. Mine is a Google slide deck, but yours will be a PDF that you are going to now need to open in Notability. Make sure you've saved it under social studies. And we are going to get started with what I need you to know about the start of World War One. This is where we're moving in social studies. We're going to begin this study of World War One, and or the United States role within this war. Let me start my slideshow. All right, so this is slide one, the same slide that you have. Notice the title is World War One and the Great War. World War One was actually not originally called World War One. It was originally titled the Great War. This was one of the biggest wars that our nation had experienced since the time of the Civil War, or even previous to that, the American Revolution. So the World War One is a very significant event within our history. Not only did it affect European countries, it affected the United States. It also had direct effects on South Carolina as well. On the next slide, it talks about the beginning. So World War One actually did not start in the United States. World War One began in Europe, and it began in the year 1914. World War One was known as the Great War because it affected so many places. It began in 1914 because during this time, many countries were focused on imperialism. Imperialism is the idea that you want to control more land, that you want to control more people. And so these countries, especially some of the larger countries in Europe, wanted to have control of some of these smaller countries. What we find that in Europe, it is not uncommon for countries to have an alliance. We see the word alliance right here on your slides. And there were the two different alliances. Alliances are groups of countries that promise to support each other. So it's very much like a friendship. The Allied powers was one group, one alliance. The Central Powers was another group or another alliance. And these two groups were fighting against each other and wanting to control land that the other wanted. Let me move to the next screen, and we can now see here. So on the next slide in your slide deck, you will find that this is a map showing the alliances. You have the Allied powers, or also it was first called the Triple Entente, and that is Great Britain, France, and Russia. And we see them here. They are coded in this grayish blue color. So you will see here, here, and here. All right, so these three countries were called the Allied powers. Then they are arguing with the Central Powers or the Triple Alliance. The Central Powers are the ones that are here in this mauve color. So you have Germany, you have Austria-Hungary, and you also have modern day Italy, or all of these countries together. Some of them formed the Ottoman Empire right here in the Italy area at that time. So we are learning about why these countries wanted to control some of the others. We notice there's some countries that are noted here in green. In green, these countries are allies to Russia. And allies, that is another word for friend. So when you're an ally with someone, you are a friend to them. All right, so these countries here. But notice there are some neutral countries here around in this brownish color. And some of these are the places that these countries are fighting over, wanting to control to expand their own empires. America was very reluctant. Reluctant means that you are not excited and you are not quick to jump on the bandwagon of fighting in this war. When it first started in Europe, the United States vowed that they were going to stay out of it. We are not going to get involved. It does not directly impact us. Our government wanted to stay neutral. And this is what you call practicing isolationism. When we think of the word isolate, okay, when we think of isolate, that means to be away from. Isolationism is to remain neutral and not get involved. Um, Fighting in Europe had gone on for several years before the United States ever decided to get involved. America and Great Britain, they were actually strong economic trading partners. That means that we worked well with them, traded goods with them. Um, they would send goods to America that we could not produce here. We would send goods to them that they could not produce there. They bought and sold lots of things with each other. So we had a great friendship with Great Britain. Um, you kind of become allies with somebody through these different friendship and trade agreements, though it's not exactly official, but it's just kind of understood and expected that we have a great agreement with you. So we expect you to support us in our time of need. All right, now you come to a slide where we are going to kind of break this up into chunks. A lot of the study of World War One is really is heavy. It's a lot of information at one time. So what we're going to try to do as we go through this study is we're going to break it up into smaller chunks, where in between your slide decks and notes, there's going to be notes plugged in. And so after each chunk of the slides, there's going to be a section of notes that is going to be off what we just read and what we just talked about. So today's notes are going to come from the previous 4 slides that we went through. So what you're going to do today is you're going to go back to those slides and you're going to fill in these notes. And we're going to kind of recap these tomorrow and go over what your answers were and go ahead and move into the next chunk. We'll keep reviewing each day just to make sure that we understand exactly what's going on. But if you guys would do that, if you would go back to the previous 4 slides to answer the questions here on this page or fill